We got a question here from Tomato Paste.
Yeah.
It says, how does Milrose hands grow in less than a month? Is this a method I can apply to other places? Question mark.
Well, what kind of places are you talking about? Oh, yeah, baby. We bring you all the hard-hitting stuff at Chris Sims Unbuttoned. That's right. You know it. You want to get your hands bigger? Come to Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Want to know if it works at other places? Come to Chris Sims Unbuttoned.
Oh,
That's
man.
what we're here. Look at this guy. He's growing his pectorals every time I see him.
Yeah.
He's got the guns out. What's up?
What's up, brother?
As always, Connor Rogers is here. Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Great to have you here on a Wednesday afternoon. Connor Rogers taking over for Ahmed Fareed. But, yeah, that was a funny one the other day. And I always enjoy those kind of moments, especially with Ahmed. Right, because Ahmed's he's a G-rated dad, right?
That's the dry reading of it,
right? And
yeah.
And then when he gets done, I know he's scared of what I might say,
right?
So he tries to kind of like move it along, but yet I'm like want to make a comment, so he doesn't know how to act, and his face gets red,
and he's nowhere to go.
Fun to watch. He has nowhere to go,
which is amazing. All these years you guys have been doing this together.
Yeah,
I think he's one of those people that doesn't realize how funny he is.
Yeah,
Of
I
that.
know. He's
like
so dry.
Yes,
he's so
yes.
amazing. And then he can, or he'll just be like, well, I don't really know how to respond to that.
Exactly.
I don't know how to transition, and he does a good job with that. But thanks for coming in today,
Anytime,
being a part of the group here. I think we got some good stuff. Off-season burning questions we're going to hit on, right? Free agency. We've got some news in the NFL. But more importantly, we have some real stuff here that I'd like to get to in the YouTube comments right away. They caught my eye. I like this. We had fun with growing your hands on the last pod by Tomato Paste. Now we got look-alike Connor Rogers Doppler.
Doppelganger?
Yeah, doppelganger here. I like this.
Oh, man.
Oh, go ahead. Am I tripping, or does Connor look like Tom Pelissero? I got to say, when I read it, I was like, I could see it. I don't know if we had a picture ready. I was hoping we could have a picture right next to each other. Okay, now the next one by Jen_X_J. You know shit is going to be thorough when Bud Bundy joins the pod.
Unreal.
So I can see that. I don't think you look like Bud Bundy all the way.
Sometimes the hair.
I can see it. The hair.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe some of the style. Right. You're a better looking version of both of these guys,
thank
just so you know. Definitely.
It's not the craziest.
But look, give it a look. We'll look right there. Oh, man. You do look like you could be Pelissero. You're the same family.
I'll tell you the three I get the most.
Right.
On YouTube comments.
Yeah.
These two, Pelissero more than Bundy.
Right.
And then the one I get sometimes too is a shorter Colin Jost from SNL.
Oh, okay.
Which and then once again, it's probably just the hair. I don't know if we actually look alike at all.
Yeah.
But those are the three. So the YouTube comments don't lie.
Okay.
I get
that's
those three
good.
consistently.
Your three are better than my three.
What do you get?
Here's the two I get more times than not. The guy from Billions, who I don't know his name, the actor, the TV show Billions.
Damian Lewis?
Is it Damian? Is he the main guy?
Yeah.
Right.
Which Bobby Axelrod?
I'm a little bit like, sometimes I don't know if I feel like I look like it.
No,
but I've had people say that to me like on multiple occasions.
Shape.
Maybe
you don't look alike, but you have the same face shape.
I think that's
it's a very
what it
unique
is.
face
and
shape.
People have said that to me. The other one is like Silas from the Tom Hanks Holy movie. What the hell is it called? I don't know.
Let me look this up.
Not Dangers and Demons.
No,
the first one where he's trying to figure out, the keys, and it's Jesus Christ's daughter and the bloodlines.
Da Vinci Code,
Da
of course.
Vinci Code.
I haven't seen the Da Vinci Code in many years.
But Silas,
this is
the crazy guy with the blonde hair,
absolutely
who's also him, right, in the Avengers.
Yep.
In that one as well, and I can't think of his name either.
You don't look like. Okay. You don't look like Silas.
Thank you. But yeah, I get those. I have gotten those on multiple occasions.
Bettany. Yep.
And I want to be like,
screw you.
Not really, but thanks. Do I? Thanks. Like,
you don't
look like
Paul
that
Bettany.
guy.
Don't.
I don't like that. So at least yours are not horrible.
Yeah, I could tolerate.
You can
that.
tolerate that.
It's like you kind of just shrug.
Yeah. The Pelissero one I never would have put together until I read it, and then I literally thought of his face, and I was like, kind of like you were saying, same shaped face,
hair thing,
similar hair.
Yep.
Right.
You're
more jacked
than
NFL
him.
News. He can't pull off this shirt or this outfit. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, you won't see me in a suit running around at the NFL Combine.
But,
that's for sure.
That's good. All right, so we got Pelissero's doppelganger here. But yeah, have fun, and let's go. I'll let you take it off from here.
Burning questions. Obviously, this is a lot of free agency blended with some draft conversations, putting together these puzzle pieces. Number one, which is what everybody just cares about the most here, Chris, is where does the quarterback carousel stop?
I know.
We have a lot of dominoes right now.
Yes.
And the first question is from Scott M. 2032. Sam Darnold goes where? He had a very good season. Not sure why all the hate.
Right. I think it's not about hate, okay? He did have a very good season. I think the big thing is, do you view him as, wait, he's actually the future of our franchise, and then what do we have to pay for him, right? Those are the two biggest things with Sam Darnold. I think there's a lot of teams that are here that are QB needy that would like Sam Darnold maybe for the right price, or first they want to see what shakes out here with some of these other guys, right? There's some unknowns here. Stafford kind of messed some things up a little bit in the fact of opening up negotiations just to get the Rams to move up their price tag a little bit, which is what we kind of thought he was doing all along, and we said that, right? But also within that, there's the Rodgers factor in this that affects Sam Darnold. And Rodgers, there's no doubt, wanted to go to the West Coast. I do think Rodgers, from everything I know in the league, yes, if Stafford moved from the Rams, Rodgers was going to be front and center with the LA Rams, right? So that plays a part in this. The other one that's weird, and I don't know if we're going to hear about it totally quite yet, or if it's coming, is the Kirk Cousins matter as well. That plays into this, and I still think they're figuring out things, and probably still in the midst of talking to his camp and figuring out how they want to handle things so they can make this look as good as possible for the Atlanta Falcons. So within that, again, I'm not one to chicken out here. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I don't think the Giants is happening. Right? I'm not looking at that. I just don't think New York's going to love that. And if you made me think, and I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know we probably got more questions here about this, all right? But maybe I should do it like this. I think when all's said and done, if we go right now, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Giants. That would be my bet. That would be the one I think they continue to pursue. Just Rodgers, looking at the landscape right now, options he has available, oddly enough, I think the Giants are one of the better options. They definitely want a veteran quarterback, right? Because their ass is on the line. So do you want to go through the bumps and the trials and tribulations with the young quarterback and then what, get fired and then somebody else gets to take over, right? Right. So they need somebody that can win for them right now. So I think there's that. I also look at Rodgers and go, hey, the Giants, again, you don't have a lot of options. You can kind of stick it to the Jets, which we know Rodgers likes to do, right? And so,
but he wasn't good with the Jets.
He wasn't good.
So, what are you sticking it to?
It'll piss the Jets off, though, nonetheless. And he probably doesn't like how it was ended and everything else.
That he was cut.
Exactly.
He had no say. And
doesn't have to uproot his life. 100%. Doesn't have to uproot his life. Has a, no doubt, marquee receiver he could go to, right? And Malik Neighbors. Wandale Robinson's not damn bad either as a 3. They need to get somebody else there. I don't know if
it'll be Devontae Adams.
It
Let's
probably
not kid
will
ourselves.
be. I mean, it probably will be, even though I don't know if the Giants would do that, and we could talk about that in a second too. Defensive line's pretty good. Franchise left tackle.
For sure.
Don't have to worry about that there.
Needs to stay healthy,
there's
but he
nothing
can play.
perfect out there for Aaron Rodgers. But if you just made me think right now, here we are, Wednesday, 5 days before free agency starts, that would be my first one. Okay, so I would go Rodgers to the Giants. If you made me go now to the next thing with Sam Darnold, all of the other options make sense to a degree, right? I could see Tennessee, the Raiders. I could also, I'm going to throw the Indianapolis Colts in there because I think that they've talked they're going to open it up. Now, how much do they want to open it up? How competitive do they want to make it? I don't know. But if you want a guy to come in to go, wait, if we have to start him, he can be good and he can save our ass and our offense can be pretty good, Sam Darnold would be that guy. Also within that, wait, he can come in and he's not such a star proven commodity that like Anthony Richardson is going to feel like he has no chance to win the competition, right? So you can truly get competition there. But I think even within that, I'm going to say he ends up going to the Raiders. That to me is where I'm going to go. Limited options.
They got to do something
They're at
too.
number 6, right?
Yeah, 6.
In the draft. I'm interested to see, and in my heart of hearts, I don't know if I definitely see Tom Brady liking these quarterbacks and taking one at number 6, okay? Right. That's where I would go, and we'll have a lot of conversation when we do quarterback rankings and do all that and really break it down. But I think that's I know that there's a thought out there in the NFL anyways of whether any of these guys are worth a top 5 or 6 pick. Let alone if there is one, it's Cam Ward, and then we don't know where the other ones fall exactly, right? So I guess in a long way to say it, that would be my answer for Sam Darnold. I probably answered a few other future questions here or there, but I felt like I had to explain that a little bit in depth to kind of explain where my head was at in this whole situation.
You have to put it all together because it's a carousel. It's a game of musical chairs. With Darnold, I agree with you. It's not that he's not wanted. It's that you need to figure out what he is.
Exactly.
And Once you figure out what he is, what does he want to be paid?
Exactly. And how many eggs do you want to put in that basket and be tied to him for how long and where that goes, right?
Right. And he's probably trying to figure out, like, he just went to a situation where he was going to go into camp competing with a first-round quarterback pick. And we know how that went because of injury and everything like that.
Right.
Is he okay doing that again? After the season he might be like, I'd rather the Raiders are a team that could just commit to him. Right? There's no like, hey, we're going to also draft Shedeur at 6, and here you go again.
Right.
They could have an honest plan and be like, hey, man, we're going to go get you this kind of piece to play with, and you're the guy. Like, you're the guy. Tennessee, the same thing. Tennessee could sit there and say, actually, we like Travis Hunter at wide receiver. We're just going to take him.
Yeah, or we trade down and we get a bunch of picks there. And
right,
we let
and
Sam Darnold be the quarterback, and he would fit that offense and what they do. It's West Coasty. He's been involved in that. So that's where I'm with you there. I mean, yeah, he's going to have to deal with that until the draft day, no matter what, I think, with Tennessee or the Raiders, and hearing that and hoping they don't draft a quarterback so he could be the guy. Exactly. I think that'll be the real thing there. Now, the next question.
Yes.
Right? Read that one if you don't mind.
Curbio Analytics, because this is the next combo I wanted to go to with you, Chris. There have been recent reports that the Vikings may sign Darnold to a short-term deal. Do you think that's just Darnold's agent trying to boost his market, or do you think it's real? To me, there's no good reason for the Vikings to re-sign Darnold. Go younger, better, and cheaper. Before you go, Chris, I just want to kind of drop something in here.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee J.J. McCarthy is better than Sam Darnold.
Yeah, no, there's not.
He could be.
No,
he has the upside to be.
Right.
I think it's wildly dangerous to assume his first year starting in the NFL that he'll be better than Sam Darnold. Maybe year 2 or 3.
Right.
But I think that's a dangerous assumption, in my opinion.
It is. There's no question. We don't know what that'll be. Now, by all due accounts, but what we saw in the first preseason game in training camp, it seemed like it was trending that way, right? Where he was going to be the starter.
Yep.
But you're right. Sam Darnold, again, back to what at Scott M2 2032 said. He had a really good damn year. A really damn good year. There's no denying that. But the end of the year is going to leave questions for everybody, and it's just especially not only because it's Sam Darnold and he hasn't done it for a long period of time consistently year after year, but yes, the way that last game of the regular season for the number 1 seed in Detroit looked, there's no doubt. He didn't play good. He missed plays. No doubt about that. The wild card game is one where I've defended him, and I've said this to Florio. It's just there wasn't much to be had.
Right.
And I think we were just piling on because they lost the way they lost. The quarterback is the guy, and he played bad the week before, so everyone just thought, he played bad. And I didn't have nearly as much of a problem in the wild card loss to the Rams. So, off of what Curbio Analytics says, one, that's why I wasn't in favor of, there was the talks of would the Vikings franchise Sam Darnold. First off, $40 million. I don't think anybody's going to pay $40 million for Sam Darnold for 1 year. That's not happening, right? The other thing, too, and I think a lot of points are made here by Curbio Analytics. One, trust your evaluation of J.J. McCarthy and what you wanted, and you felt like he was the future of your organization and he could be that guy, right? You traded up a spot to make sure you get him in the top 10. Okay, so trust that. Trust that, and then having Sam Darnold back is only going to confuse things and really hinder both of their development. So if you're in pro Sam Darnold world and you want him to get better, having J.J. McCarthy breathing down his neck very close to the University of Michigan, right? And then we go, they're 1-2, and maybe Sam Darnold's not even playing that bad, right? It doesn't matter. It's going to be definite. Right. Well, I mean, they drafted J.J. McCarthy at number 9. Why aren't they going with J.J. McCarthy? Is it J.J. McCarthy time yet? Right. We'll talk about it after the break, right?
3.
I mean, that's where it's going to be constant. And that's not going to be good for their football team. And that's not good for either one. So that's where, yes, I am like, nope, that's over. J.J. McCarthy, start framing it to be the guy there. Get back Daniel Jones, right, and make him the backup for an affordable price, because I think Daniel Jones will go back there knowing, hey, the situation's great. If I do get a chance here, the way they coach, and this guy's a quarterback whisperer, and the talent I have, I can put myself right back in the mix of like, hey, if I get to play, I can be a starting quarterback, right? So that would be the thing I would say for Minnesota that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's just, you think about the $40 million you're projecting there, that can get Minnesota a starting corner, maybe Aaron Jones back, and maybe something else.
Yeah.
That could be 3 players.
Exactly.
As much as we all love Sam Darnold, and I know they do too, like, that's not a complete roster as we saw. You could fill all 3 big needs with that money.
No doubt about it.
That's the hard part about it.
Exactly.
As much as you'd love to have him back, at some point, like, you gotta go for it.
They have a good roster.
Yes.
but that's it. It's good.
It's not great.
We're not sitting there going, wow. I feel like the coaching staff gets the most out of that roster, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Do I think that team on paper is a 14-3 football team?
No.
Not really. I don't. But I think that speaks to O'Connell and Brian Flores.
Without a doubt.
And then to your point, yes, there's got to be a few more difference makers, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to get them over the hump. And so we view them as one of those teams that does have that roster that we all, are in awe of.
So we touched on this one a little bit, but I still want to go back to it from Jim D.
Yeah.
Love the pod. Who should the Giants sign a quarterback? You said you think they will end up with Aaron Rodgers. You didn't say that's what they should do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm going to answer, I guess, future questions here a little bit. The Giants, Rodgers makes sense for a lot of reasons. He does. And if you're not in love with any of these quarterbacks in the draft and you want to kick the can for a year or two down the road a little bit, right? I'm not against that. Now, I just hope Rodgers, they don't let Aaron Rodgers come in and just run the show like he kind of did with the Jets, and we know that's capable of happening, right? I still think Rodgers has good football in front of him. I don't think this is like, oh, he's done, right? The skills are there. My biggest thing with Rodgers is just will he hang in the pocket and throw down the ball down the field? You've heard me say that for 3 years now, and I think everybody in the NFL realizes that's an issue with him right now in the league, in league circles. Okay, so I don't have a problem with that. I am cool with Rodgers to the Giants, let alone the other thing I like about Rodgers to the Giants is he's at a point of his career where I don't think he'll give a shit about the price tag. He's just going to be like, pay me something good, just good. I don't give a damn. I got more money than I know what to do with. And then start, what's the plan for building the team, right? There's that. But I guess I'm going to jump the shark here a little bit too and go, I would have no problem with them drafting Cam Ward, okay? That would be my thing. Whether he falls to them or even if they traded up to number one.
I agree.
Right? I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to tell you now, Chris Sims quarterback rankings, Cam Ward will be number one. That is not a question. It's not a question. It's Cam Ward by himself.
Right.
He is the unicorn of this draft, and I really like him. Everything I've seen.
I'm with you all the way.
I mean, again,
I think he's in his own category.
I've heard some people say, and I even had a few people in the NFL say to me, "Hey, he's raw," right? And I hadn't watched enough yet to kind of fight back. But if I had those same conversations now, I'd go, well, what's raw?
I would not agree at all.
Tell me what's raw. I mean, I see him go to the right place with the ball all the time. Do I see a play every now and then where we discussed last week where, there's a 5-yard out route out on first and 10, and I go, damn, just hit that. That's what you should do there. And he just holds the ball and goes, wait, I want to throw a laser to one of my receivers across the field and do something sexier, right? Yeah, does that come up? Sure. But it doesn't come up that much to where I'm like, oh, this guy is so undisciplined. It's all over the place, right? And within it, I could see he sees the guy on the 5-yard route. He's looked the right place. It's not like he's like, oh, I don't know where to go or what defense they're in. He looks at it and he goes, that's boring. I want to do something else. And he's got to get that out of him. But yes, I am from everything I see right now, I have no problem with Cam Ward going as the number one pick in the draft. And I wasn't sure if I was going to say that going into this process. But yes, he stands alone. I agree with you there. And I would have no problem with the Giants doing that.
Quarterback show will be a lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun.
Be a little patient for that right now. But that'll be a big combo. But it does tie to this. That's the important part and I think, here's another thing, Chris, when you bring up Rodgers to the Giants, if you're not taking Cam Ward or making a plan to go get him, because I do think he's going to be the number one pick, whether that's a team trading with the Titans like the Giants, somebody we haven't seen mentioned yet. You can't just go into the year with Rodgers and, Johnny backup, as you would say.
Exactly right.
Rodgers, I think, was so hell-bent on playing 17 last year that it was a detriment to the Jets because when he was healthy, you could see how obvious it was that he was healthy. When he wasn't, like you said, he wouldn't stand back there.
He wouldn't stand
move.
It, get it out. He wasn't throwing the ball with the same authority.
He was 60% of the player that he could be.
Agreed.
So that Giants need two quarterbacks right now, whether that's Rodgers in a draft pick, a veteran in a draft pick, or two veterans.
Yes.
Like the Jets did last year with Rodgers and Tyrod.
Right. They can go the young quarterback route and then go, we'll sign Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Or maybe Jacoby Brissett and have him be the backup. Maybe Jameis Winston. I don't know. They could go that route.
Like a real backup. Even Cooper Rush.
Right.
Like just a real backup.
Or they go, like you're saying, Rodgers with a guy that, hey, of the draft here, we got some guys that got a little experience and can play the position. They might not wow you with elite physical skills to where that's why they're not going to be in the top 15, top 20 of the draft or even the first round. But you go, wait, there's enough here, and this guy knows how to play the position where he could possibly be a starter, and he's played enough that I think he'll be good enough to, if we need him as a backup this year, we can make it happen, right? I think those are the two routes you're thinking if you're the Giants and the way this could possibly go. I'll be interested to see where it goes. I had heard things towards the end of the season they liked Cam Ward a lot, right? I haven't heard anything definitively to know that. I know they've done their homework there, but I think you and me are on the same page. I do think he stands alone, and I think more impressed than I thought I was going to be even watching Cam Ward. I did, because I knew the highlight plays were there.
Right.
I guess I wasn't sure of all the meat and potato. Wait, this guy's open, slam dunk, you got to hit it, blah, blah, blah. And, man, he don't ever lose control of the football. And when he wants to step on the gas and throw a fastball or throw a laser, man, he can do it as good as anybody.
He's got a big arm.
He's got a big arm, and he's got an easy arm. An easy arm. He also can just be fading in the pocket and flick the ball 30 yards to a crosser and drop it down. He's got incredible touch that way. He's strong and plays big in the pocket. He's got incredible feet to make people miss, right? He's got every release in the book, right? It's a smooth, natural motion. And like I said, this ain't just some athlete guy who's just going out and making it happen. He's a quarterback.
Right.
He wants to stand in the pocket. In fact, one of my negatives I wrote in my notes in this book here is I just went, he might be too patient in the pocket sometimes, where I'm like, wait, get out of there. Like, do something. Right. He's sitting there trying to make a move, and he's going to try to make a throw between the guard and the tackle, and he wasted the last possible second. But, yeah, I do like what I saw from Cam Ward a whole lot.
I think because he's a shade under 6'2", people thought he was small. He's very wide. It's almost like that Russ width, where he's a little taller than Russ, but he's a real 220 pounds.
Right.
Where it's like, oh no, it's
what was it, 6'1" and 5'8"?
6'1" and 5'8".
Yeah, right.
219.
And yeah, it was right around there. But it is a big 6'1" and 5'8", like you said.
Like he is a
if
different
you told
body
me he was
than Shedeur.
6'2", I would be 6'2". And yes, it's power.
Yes.
Right. It's square shoulders. There's thickness in his legs. My dad a few weeks ago said a name, right, when he said it, and I have thought, he's like Steve McNair.
Interesting.
Right? The way he hangs in there, and he's got people pulling out of the pocket and all that, I certainly could see. He's different throwing motion.
No, that's really interesting.
A similar, type of style and play with just a big, country strong guy standing there in the pocket.
All right, our next one, I know we touched on the Raiders, but Raiderman1526 said, where do the Raiders go for quarterback? I know your answer was Sam Darnold. What do you think the backup plan is if they can't get Darnold? Because it gets thin quick.
It gets really thin.
And that's not an easy place, I think, to sell an older quarterback on. I know there's been buzz about this. I would be shocked if the Russ and Pete relationship is magically great again. Like Russell Wilson there would surprise me is what I would say. Knowing how things were the last 2 years in Seattle.
I don't think that there's any way that'll happen.
People keep bringing this up, and I look at them and I'm like, okay.
Let alone Brady's going to be involved in this part.
Extremely.
For sure. And Brady's going to look at film with Russell Wilson and go, guys, I don't know. Right. That's not for us. Right? Jimmy Garoppolo, he ain't going back there.
No.
Right? He's not going to do that. They do have Gardner Minshew, right? Under contract still?
I believe so.
Right?
But I think there's rumors he might be
released. Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's probably not their cup of tea.
Right.
And he's probably not, again, Tom Brady's cup of tea. What's Tom Brady going to like? He's going to like bigger pocket passing quarterbacks. That's where Aiden O'Connell is fine for that position.
Viable backup for them.
Yeah, he's totally a viable backup. And we've seen when he gets in there and has to play, he can do that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the option. I think that's where that goes as backup right there. Try to find a veteran, someone to be the starter, and you let Aiden O'Connell be your reliable backup behind him.
Yeah, and then draft the team around them. So we'll see ultimately what the Raiders do. But that's where the quarterback carousel stands right now. Let's kind of transition to that's the pro quarterback carousel.
That's the pro. Well, yeah, and I know people are going to go, well, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, I believe, will be relegated to backupville.
Right.
I don't see him back with the Steelers. Right. The play wasn't good enough. We've discussed here before, right? And everybody talked about it in the NFL this year. All he does is throw go balls down the sideline, right? There's the middle of the field that does not get worked enough that way. He's not as athletic as he used to be. He can't extend plays the way he used to be, right? And his leadership and that, it falls on deaf ears, and it fell on deaf ears in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So they're done with that. Justin Fields is an interesting one.
Very.
Right? Because, look, again, I don't think it's going to excite the Steelers fan base if they go, hey, we're going with Justin Fields as a starter this year, but it's not the worst option. He is going this way, definitely. I do think he has leadership skills and the ability to rally the crew around him, but there's still deficiencies throwing the football. And Justin Fields is one that I look at with a team I brought up earlier, like a place like the Colts, because they can go, wait, it can run the same offense, same plays with Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, right? So we don't have to worry about, this quarterback's in, that quarterback's in, whatever, and they compete that way. That would be another one that I could see making sense from the Colts standpoint as far as competition, not too much of a star that it just smushes Anthony Richardson, and, we have the same offense for all quarterbacks on roster. I mean, I can see that for sure, but Fields will be an interesting conversation as we go forward, too.
We always talk about it from the NFL perspective.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it from Fields' perspective.
Right.
So he was benched by the Steelers. Mm-hmm. You bring up the Colts that have Anthony Richardson. One of the other teams that has been connected to him, and I do think is going to make a play for him if he gets the free agency, is the Jets.
Yeah.
If you're the quarterback, how much do you value going to the place where it's likely that you're just the guy? Like, the Steelers have benched him before, although he'd have a better chance of holding that job this year.
You.
The
Right.
Colts, they invested a lot in Anthony Richardson.
Exactly.
The Jets, it's Tyrod Taylor right now.
I know.
And nothing against Tyrod. That's more health than play.
Right.
But if you're the quarterback going into free agency, how do you assess those situations? Like, I'm a young guy. I want to play and show everybody I'm going to get a big contract after this prove-it year.
If I got down to that situation right there, I'd be like, wait, I want to go with the place where I know they want me and they want me to be the guy, right? Instead of like the Colts where it's like, yeah, you might be the guy.
Sure.
Let's see what you got.
Can you
Let's
push
see if you can do
our
it.
guy
Right.
we actually want
we
to be
actually
the guy?
want the other guy to
right.
win it. We're hoping you're going to push him along. So, yeah, I think to answer your question, the Jets won in that situation, I think, would be more appealing to a quarterback knowing, hey, they support me. They know what Tyrod Taylor is. He's that. It's a great backup. But they're bringing me in here because they see that I could be a starter and do some good things. And, yeah, that would be the one I'd go with.
Another name Pete mentioned just now for the Colts is there's some ties between Daniel Jones potentially going there. That's probably the tier of quarterback they'd want, right? Like the guy that can compete,
right,
but is not a lock to get the job or a lock to lose that job.
Yep.
I think it's Daniel Jones and Jameis are kind of in that bracket.
Right.
They'll compete. Guys will like them, but Anthony Richardson has a chance to still hold the job.
Yeah, exactly right. Daniel Jones, that would not be a bad spot for him for sure. Right, I certainly could see that. I think the world of Shane Steichen as an offensive mind. Again, every week with a quarterback that can't even throw for 50%, we were like, damn, they had 25 points. How the hell did they do that? How did they even get 24 points? What? He was 8 for 17. He was 8 for 23. It was a close game. What? How? It's because Shane Steichen's awesome. He knows how to find plays and create explosive plays almost no matter what. So as far as Daniel Jones, again, positioning yourself with good coaching, and if you do get a chance to play, you got a support staff that can actually show your true abilities. The Colts would be a spot that I would say that makes sense. That would. I mean, again, they got a good O-line. I think the two receivers they got on the outside are better than people realize, right? Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. are pretty damn good. They just haven't had a quarterback to put up big stats and have that type of offense to kind of show everybody all the way.
Same with Josh Downs.
They're three deep. Exactly. Yeah. They got a running back that's a top 5 running back in football probably. They could use a tight end.
For sure.
That's a big conversation there. We know the defense will be better with Lou Anarumo and more creative. But, yeah, I could see that with Daniel Jones. But in my heart of hearts, as a guy that roots for Daniel Jones and all that, I don't want that either for him, though. To me, there's too much unknown. There's too much, they're started Anthony Richardson. See, Daniel Jones can't even beat him out, right? And it's like, well, no, we just talked about it. They want Anthony Richardson really to be the guy. That's why they drafted him for. So he's going to have that edge. You're going to have to totally
the tie
dominate
goes to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. The tie goes to him. Anything close goes to him. So that's where with Daniel Jones, I just go back to Minnesota. It's the perfect spot. Be behind J.J. McCarthy, right? Everybody expects you to be behind him. And if you do get a chance to play and do all that, you got Kevin O'Connell and some damn good receivers too.
So we went through a lot of players that could be starting quarterbacks somewhere.
Yeah.
Darnold, obviously, Rodgers, Russ, Fields. I mean, we'll see what happens with Cousins in Atlanta. There's just so much unknown how they're going to handle that. Daniel Jones, Jameis. The other backups available, just for everyone's awareness, Joe Flacco, Jimmy G, Cooper Rush, Jacoby Brissett, Mason Rudolph, Josh Dobbs, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance all set to hit free agency. Any intriguing name out there?
I think a lot of real good backups. That's all I'd say.
Brissett, Rudolph, Rush.
Right. Like, I'd be totally pumped if I had a good football team and I was like, man, Brissett, Cooper Rush, Drew Lock, Jameis Winston are our backups if we need them for 3 or 4 games because our starter got hurt. I'd go, shit, yeah, we're fine. We're fine at quarterback. Those guys can play. And not only do I trust them, they actually have a little talent to where they can make a few throws and plays. It's not just going to be like, hey, we can't call that or we can't do this because he can't do that. And that's where, I certainly like that group, but I don't see like starter potential or anybody that's under the radar that way there. Yeah.
All right, number 2, where do Cam Ward and other rookie quarterbacks go? Yeah. And the first question is from Israel DMS 7. Why shouldn't my New York Jets draft Jalen Milroe? Maybe even in the second, trade up to the last first, #Badlands.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Milroe obviously we don't think is going to be a day one guy.
No.
I know you're still going through the nitty-gritty of the quarterbacks.
He's one that I'm not all the way through yet. All the way through. But I watch Jalen Milroe very closely. I really have. He's got tremendous high-end talent. I don't think he's going to go in the second round either.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Just too much of a project?
I just think there's a little bit more project there than right. Jalen Hurts was a project, but Jalen Hurts we got to see like, hey, he played quarterback.
Right.
He's got all the quarterback way and persona and everything about him says quarterback. Right. And we saw like, wow, his last year in college, they spread it out and he threw it 45 times a game and he was, damn good. We haven't had that with Jalen Milroe. We've had moments, the end of the 2023 season, right? There was like, oh, damn, he's getting better. 2024, as you've heard me say, and I've said it a bunch, like through the first 6 or 7 weeks, I would have gone, Jalen Milroe is going to win the Heisman. I mean, he was carrying Alabama. It was a human highlight film.
Yep.
But I think as the year went on, and they weren't as good, of course, and they couldn't run the ball, it exposed them a little bit in the fact that, can you trust him to drop back and beat a team all the time, 40 times a game, and make the right decisions and right throws all the time? No, obviously not. And it fell off a little bit. And then you and I talked about last week, he had that one day at the Senior Bowl where everybody was like, damn, the ball really got away from him a lot. It wasn't good. So I don't think it's second round. I think he's a guy that maybe late third round, it might be the start of day 3, but somebody takes him going like, hey, I don't give a damn we drafted him in the 4th round. We see something with him. There's no way he's getting on the field in year 1. We got to work with him and do some things to polish him up a little bit.
And that's a good reminder about Hurts. I think people forget Hurts started about 2.5 seasons at Alabama.
Yes.
Transferred.
Took them to a national championship game, right? Did get benched in that game, but yes, let's not forget that.
Then and scouts like this a lot, transferred and started somewhere else. So really 3.5 years of starting. Milroe started really 2.
Exactly.
That's a gigantic difference.
Started 2, and the first year he was benched because it's still raw and they had to try to bring him along, and then he responded and got better. But yes, it's a different story than Jalen Hurts. Now, his high-end potential, I think, is greater than Jalen Hurts.
He's a better athlete, like just pure speed.
I mean, Jalen Milroe is one of those guys. It doesn't matter what field he's on. We're going to be like, well, he's definitely one of the 2 or 3 best athletes on the field.
Yep.
And then his arm, when he throws it well, and I said this on Monday's pod after watching the combine and doing all that, hey, when he throws it and everything's in the right position, the ball explodes out of his hand. I mean, he had throws. There was no doubt his arm was the strongest in his group at the NFL Combine. It's just that, yes, it's not always smooth. It can be off target a little from time to time. But, that high-end talent, again, which teams believe in, and there's always a coach that thinks, I can make him do that all the time. Somebody's going to like Jalen Milroe.
The one thing I'll say is that, people can't see is that teams will love the person.
The person's amazing.
Amazing person.
Like, perfect. You're right.
That makes you go, you know what, maybe I'll take him in the 3rd because I know he's going to do everything he can to maximize his development.
Right.
I asked his teammate Tyler Booker about him. I was like, because they were both the leaders of that team when they went through the Saban transition. And he was like, listen, I'll shoot it straight. He's the first one there at 5 a.m. every day. He leaves at 8 when everyone's long, long gone. And when we needed somebody to kind of take the reins as we transitioned coaching staffs, it was always him.
Yeah.
Lifted with the linebackers. which, I mean, when you're 220 and pure muscle, like, it's not shocking
to hear that. But that gets you respect in the locker room,
right.
as leader,
like,
everything.
He gets it from every
you
aspect,
can see that.
every single aspect, where at least he needs to be developed, but he'll do everything he can to maximize it. Where
agreed.
you can't always, you're not guaranteed that when you draft a project quarterback.
You're right. Teams are going to love that, and especially love that out of a potential quarterback for your football team. You got to be that way, right? Also, I'm with you. I mean, getting to spend a little time with him at the Super Bowl. Top notch, incredible, perfect. I always liked him after the game when I would see him interviewed anyways.
Right.
He'd be one of those guys where I'd show my wife and be like, "Hey, look at this kid. This kid's impressive.
He
right?
really
look,
is.
He's a good kid. Like, good answer right there. Blah blah blah. Right? You could tell he gets it, and everything I've heard, he gets it. And from what I've seen in person, I felt like I was talking to a guy that gets it. So I hear you on everything you're saying there, Connor.
Our next one from Amir Jets. Love the CNC duo. Couple questions for Connor. What's your opinion on the Jordan Travis news, and does that change anything about the plans for the Jets at quarterback? Also, a trio, Chris, Connor, and Ahmed Pod is absolutely needed. Have you followed any of the Jordan Travis stuff?
A little bit. Not totally. I saw it yesterday. Right? I don't know the nitty and gritty of it all, but go ahead. Explain it to all those out there.
His agent to ESPN was basically blamed the Jets for rushing his rehab.
Right.
I mean, take for that what you will. I don't know. I just know that the Jets were telling people last season, like, do not expect anything football-wise from Jordan Travis this year. Like, we can't get him on the practice field.
Right.
I am going into this offseason for the Jets. Like, anything from him next year is house money. I would think you almost assume he's just a non-factor right now. Like, Tyrod Taylor's on the roster.
Exactly.
If they signed a veteran, Fields, whoever it may be, and drafted a day 3 quarterback, it probably tells you what they think of Jordan Travis, which is unfortunate.
So. Yes.
But, I mean, this was a career-altering injury.
It is a tough injury. I don't know. Why would the Jets be rushing it along? Were they rushing him along just so they could see him on the practice field and feel better about the future with him? I don't know
For
that
what?
either.
Like, it was Rodgers and Tyrod. Jordan Travis was never playing.
I know. So the regime change, we'll see what they think of him altogether.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a totally different thought in that building. And I think what you said is right in Tyrod Taylor, let him be the backup. You get somebody to be the starter. Jordan Travis, if they got to put him on practice squad again for the year or whatever, and let him get on the practice field, let him get going a little bit. And hopefully with the type of human he is, again, another impressive guy who's all quarterback all the time, and you know all that, to where maybe you can get him for the 2026 season to now he's your backup, and you feel good about him being the backup and whoever else is your starter, and he takes that career arc. But, yeah, definitely a little odd story there. And one, I don't know. I haven't heard anything behind the scenes. I don't know why they would do that. And what would they be trying to rush him back for other than – let's just see him on the field so we can feel a little bit better about what our plans are for the future. That's the only thing I can think of, but that doesn't even make all that much sense either.
No, I just would go into the offseason, anything you get from him this year is house money.
Yeah.
We're all rooting for him because it was a brutal injury, and hopefully he could figure it out. But when there's a regime change, it's always interesting to see what those guys go through. So the rookie quarterbacks, and we don't want to give away the quarterback show, Chris, but I mean, these are some of the guys we're going to be talking about. Of course, Cam Ward. The most recent top 50 I did, I had him 8th overall.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, I had 23rd overall.
Right.
I think he's going to move down a couple of spots for me from that spot.
Right.
Jackson Dart, I had 46th overall.
Yeah.
I don't give a curve.
Yeah.
Like, just because Jackson Dart's going 29th or whatever, I'm still going to rank him like everybody else.
That's the way you should.
Yeah. And then Jalen, these guys were all right outside not right outside, but they were outside the top 50. Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Tyler Shuck, Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, Curtis Rourke, and Brady Cook.
Yeah, it's a good, solid group, right? It lacks, big-time slam dunk star power.
Right. There's one first-rounder. That was my takeaway.
Yeah, I hear you.
Here's the one
I don't know if I feel totally that way with you there, but I got to hash some of that out, too, as I continue to kind of go through this whole thing. But, yes, like we talked about, Cam Ward is the main guy of the group. I would have no problem from what I've saw at this point, and I'm done with really most of my evaluation with him. Where I got nothing there. Like he's good. The rest of the group, and I was going to say something else, and I forgot what the hell I was going to say. But the rest of the group, it's potential. There is experience with some of these guys. There's a lot of guys where you go, hey, if they had to play him, he could play. He's got the attributes. Do I know if he can be a star or a starter? No, not necessarily. There's guys, I think, with potential, too, that will continue to get better. I kind of said that on Monday. Like, Riley Leonard's an impressive potential type of pick somewhere in the middle of the draft. Yeah. He's big. He's fast as hell. Right. He's shown the ability to throw some footballs where I go, wow, that kind of looked damn good coming out of your hand right there, and easy and smooth.
There's throws at Duke where I was like,
there's a few in the college football playoff where you just go, damn, where the hell was that all year?
Right, that's like, the weird thing.
Where was that in week 6? Like, you know, well, you wouldn't have lost to Northern Illinois if you threw the ball like that, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of that right there. And then there's balancing guys like, hey, Jalen Milroe, unbelievable talent, raw, still getting better at quarterback. And then Tyler Shook, where you go, hey, he knows how to play. He can play quarterback. He can do it all. But I don't know if there's any more like high-end talent to tap into. It is what it is. Right. So there's a lot of conversations like that to be had here in this whole thing. And, I'm pumped to see that. I was going to say something else, right? But I can't remember what the hell it is, and it'll probably come back to me in the next segment.
You get a little break to figure that out. We're going to take that first break. Cam Ward seems like the number one quarterback with consensus, but should he be the number one overall pick? We're going to try to answer that right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook is the number one sportsbook for live betting, and new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up.
DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Let's take a look at the number one pick odds. Not who goes number one, Chris, but who actually makes the pick, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. As you see, this was a change this week. The Titans and Giants are now tied at the top of the board at minus 105. There's reports that a trade to number one would cost the Giants 2 day 2 picks, not their first rounder next year. That remains to be seen. But, Chris, basically the bottom line is when two teams are tied at the top, that's telling you the sportsbook and the public just has no idea.
Yeah, no idea. I mean, the Giants are not only have the top odds to have the first overall pick, they also have the top odds to get Aaron Rodgers. So that just tells you that there's no idea what the hell's going on. We don't know where they're at. Most of these teams, I don't think, know exactly where they're at yet. They're probably getting close here because they're starting to figure out, like, wait, were we going to get one of the guys we want in free agency or not? Or do we have to really start pivoting to, like, draft and doing that and figuring out the guy through the draft? I mean, as I said before, I got no problem with Cam Ward being number one. Abdul Carter, I know, has been thrown in that conversation. As we said last week, I don't know if it's as a slam dunk as everybody seems to put it out there. And I don't even know that from a bunch of people in football. I'm not even trying to say it that way. I'm just talking about from my logic, from what I've seen, from hearing some of the off-the-field stuff with him. Like that, I just go, I don't think that's a slam dunk, like him just being the number one pick. And as I think, too, with Cam Ward specifically, I think it's one of those where some of the important evaluators who might be just getting into, like, the quarterbacks in the draft, they're going to look at it and go, damn, I mean, it's good.
Right.
Like, well, what the hell? Right? Now it's just
what have our scouts been doing?
The odd thing here is, and I would say like for both teams, go to number one, do it, but they're both in a circumstance too of like it's big year. And I could see both coaching staffs being fired if things don't work out.
Sure.
Then there's no question about that. And both teams have, other holes, especially Tennessee, where they got to try to address and try to make themselves, competitive in the AFC South. So that's where I'm interested there. There's just a feeling, it's a gut feeling that I think the Giants are going to make the move.
I think so too.
I think so.
You just look around, like who's the desperate man at the bar?
But they're the desperate man at the bar, and I guess I feel that way, especially if they don't get Rodgers, right? Because I still have a hard time thinking Shane and Daboll are going to want to do the rookie quarterback thing. I have a hard time believing that. And where the hardest and the magic of this conversation with the Giants is going to be, and where the Tisch family and the Mara's got to make sure they stay on top of this, is let's make sure we don't have like an awesome grade on Cam Ward and we think he's the man, but we're not going to take him because our decision makers want to save their ass for a year. right? That's the tough thing that I think for the Giants. Like, if they have a grade on Cam Ward and you're going, damn, he could be the quarterback here for the next 8 to 10 years, right? I hope we don't just let Shane and Dayball just go, well, I need to win this year. The hell with that guy and that grade and all that. That's where, yes, some higher-ups are going to have to get involved in the conversation and tone that down a little bit.
Do you think when you have a regime that desperate, though, that they almost have to do both? Because it's like you're going in saying, we got Aaron Rodgers because we need to win some games immediately. But there's a world where you have Aaron Rodgers and you don't win a lot of games. But then if you have Cam Ward on the roster, it's like, well, we also have this plan.
I hear you.
You're covering your ass entirely.
You are covering your ass.
I think that's where they're going.
You are covering your ass. Or do they go, Aaron Rodgers, and then somewhere later in the draft they take a Jackson Dart and go, hey, look, he could be our starter going forward. I know he's not Cam Ward, but we like him a lot. Right? Those are options. Those are things they're going to have to figure out there. But, I'm about as intrigued by this first pick and what's going to happen here and at the top of the draft. And it's really one of the reasons I'm anxious about diving into my film study here, because I don't have a gauge about how good some of these guys are at the top of the draft to go, wait, are they worthy of the number one? I'm at the quarterback for some of these defensive ends, some of these other positions, and that's what I got to figure out from my own knowledge.
And free agency might give us some hints. If the Giants have plenty of holes on that roster, if they go nuts in free agency, Jerry Reese and Dave Gettleman, they both spent a lot of money their final years. They go nuts in free agency, maybe that's a sign to us that they know they're going to be trading their day 2 picks to move up.
Right.
Where it's like, man, we thought we can get that starter at D tackle in the second round. We're not going to have that pick anymore. We better go pay this guy.
To go get him.
Yes. There's always breadcrumbs.
There's breadcrumbs. You're going to be able to tell directions teams are going or thinking just by these early first few days of free agency.
Well, one of the most important teams, it's not about what they spend on the external market, Chris. For the Bengals, it's about if they can keep things together. These are their biggest salary cap hits in 2025. Of course, this is from overthecap.com. Joe Burrow, $46.1 million, no surprise there. T. Higgins, who has once again been hit with the franchise tag, $26.2 million. Jamar Chase, $21.8. Trey Hendrickson, which is going to be a fascinating one because I don't see him playing on that $18.7 million number. He's 30 years old. The man wants to be paid. And then Orlando Brown Jr. at 15 and Sam Hubbard at $11.5 million. They got some housekeeping to do.
Yes, they do. They can get this done.
It's not rocket science.
It's not crazy. And, they can keep Burrow, Higgins, and Jamar Chase. I've been yelling about this a lot lately, a little bit. One, hey, the Bengals are known to be a kind of a cheap football team. That's their MO around football.
Smallest scouting department in the NFL by a large number.
Right. Usually don't have any guarantees in contracts past year one. They're one of those type of football teams. They're not one to splurge, franchise tag, do any of that type of stuff. That's not really what they're all about, right? And they're a team where if you put their roster next to most good football teams in the league, you'd go, it gets to low numbers pretty quick compared to the good teams in football, right? And so that's not a recipe to be able to be competitive and be one of the top teams in the AFC when teams like the Ravens and the Chiefs and a whole bunch of other teams in the AFC are willing, Baltimore, Houston are willing to spend money. Denver is going to get involved in here now, too, and spend money because they got a ton of it and no more Russell Wilson surcharge or anything like that, to where, it's going to be hard to stay at the top there. But I think they got a guy, this is what I said to Florio a little bit on, I believe it was Tuesday, they got the first guy ever here that I think the owner's got to go. He's got to answer to the Pied Piper a little bit. Yeah. He's got to answer because Joe Burrow ain't going to let this fly.
No, it can get nuclear if you're not careful with it.
He can. And he said a few times at the Super Bowl week and all of that, like he said, we made a comment. Look at the Eagles. They spend all this money. They seem to figure it out, right? And this is one where, as a fan, I'd love to see it. Yes, they franchised T. Higgins. No shit, because 26.2 for T. Higgins is no problem.
Right.
It's like, duh, wow. Yeah, I mean, T. Higgins in the hierarchy of wide receivers, I think, could command more money than that, really,
on
a yearly basis. Right.
It's take the over on 30 mil.
I mean, you give me Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins, I'm taking T. Higgins. Right. You gave me Jalen Waddle or T. Higgins, I'm probably taking T. Higgins. Right? And those are guys that make more money than he does right now. Right, so that this is a special football player. But Joe Burrow, I do think, is a big factor in this because I think he's going to put pressure on this organization. This is for the first time ever that they got a quarterback that there is no doubt, no team you talk to, no coach, everybody goes, oh my gosh, he's unbelievable. They can win a Super Bowl with him. We know that. And then when you stack it up, and we've said this a little bit lately, like you brought up the Eagles, they got high-paid players at every position. Now they've gotten in front of those contracts to where they haven't had to play like the absolute top of the market. Yeah. That's where the Eagles are awesome. They get deals done probably a year before they should get to that point, and therefore it saves them money with the salary cap continuing to go up. But again, let's compare them to other teams that are, really good and what we've seen. I brought up the 49ers a bunch. The 49ers have a top paid guy at a position in like 7 different positions.
Yeah, across the board.
McCaffrey, Kittle, Bosa, Trent Williams, Ayuk, Fred Warner, right? All of them are like top of the market, top 2 or 3.
Ward was pretty highly
he was
paid,
up there
right, for a while. I know it passed him by.
DeAndre Lemonor is up there for nickelbacks now. Shavarius is now going to be a free agent. But, yeah, I don't think their roster stacks up with some of the others is what we're saying here. And I'd like to see them be able to get exactly Javon Hargrave, what they paid him, right?
Like at the time.
Exactly, right. So they've had high-end guys. And I think you look at a lot of the top-quality teams in football, that's what they have. And Cincinnati hasn't. And hopefully Joe Burrow can get them to break the bank and they can keep T. Higgins and Jamar Chase together.
To your T. Higgins point, at that number, and keep in mind Chris Godwin hasn't been paid yet. Chris Godwin will surpass that number. He would be on the outside of the top 10 wide receivers on annual average.
Right.
At that number.
Right.
If he hit free agency, he goes in. He's going to get a top 4 deal at the position.
T. Higgins is a number 1 wide receiver. Like I've had a few people I've seen on social media like he wouldn't be a number 1 if it weren't for Jamar Chase. And I'm like, no, you're totally wrong. When Jamar Chase isn't in there, he's damn good.
That's the thing.
And he can beat anybody man-to-man, and even when he's covered, he's not covered. And for a big guy, his yards after catch is damn good too. He's got everything. So that's where I look at it. And if I'm Joe Burrow, here's my thing, right? If you don't want to sign T. Higgins, that's fine, but you better build the team then, right? You got to do that. There was people in Cincinnati last year, they knew they had holes on their roster on the defensive side of the ball, and they felt like the Bengals, the organization knew, and they weren't addressed, right? And therefore, not only with the distractions of Jamar Chase's contract and all that, they got off to a bad start and had to play a game where they said, hey, Joe Burrow, carry us every week. I mean, we went and watched a year where one of the teams with the worst defenses in football, we all were going, if they get in the playoffs, they might go to the Super Bowl.
Right, that was the big combo.
And it was all because one guy was a freaking machine, and we were like, well, they can do it if they put up 30 points a week. It's 9 weeks in a row. They are putting up 30 points in a week. So if they're not going to build the football team in complete totality and have a team like the Eagles or the 49ers and all that, then at least support Joe Burrow to where he can just go, hey, you, I'll carry the team myself. You just give me Higgins, give me Chase, give me a running back. Right. Don't let the O-line just get totally run over, and I can figure it out, and we can win the game that way. And that to me is, the bottom line, and I hope they support Joe that way.
Number 5 for us here, what will the Eagles and Chiefs do? Obviously, it's been reported the Eagles are releasing both cornerbacks, Darius Slay and James Bradbury. They've started their youth movement there. They have a lot of notable, as most Super Bowl teams are.
Right.
They have
it's an all-star team.
That's how it goes.
Right.
Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Milton Williams, who's going to be paid a lot of money.
Exactly, right.
Zack Baun, who's going to be paid a lot of money. Oren Burks, Avonte Maddox, and Isaiah Rodgers. And Mekhi Becton is also a free agent who started for them at right guard.
Yeah.
But, it's funny to me, Chris, and we'll get to a question here in just a second. They'll be fine. Look at the layers of the second and third layers of the roster.
They're stacked.
They draft these guys' replacements 2 years in advance every year.
I mean, Milton Williams is a backup most of the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's going to get
$20+ million a year
easily.
Right? Good.
Easily.
Like there's a saying in the NFL, right? Like good players don't get to free agency, right? That doesn't happen.
Average ones get paid like good players.
Yeah, exactly right. You saw like Dallas, they got to start to get panicked. Like, Digizu is going to get the free agent market. It's going to drive the price up. Let's get that done now, right? Yep. Let's hurry up, right? Milton Williams is one of those guys. Except the Eagles have so many guys. This is more of we're not letting a guy that we don't think is very good in the market. This is like we just can't keep everybody, and we got some contracts coming down the pipe here that we got to pay some people, right? That's the big thing. That's really the same with him and Josh Sweat, and that's what's rare. So let's first hit on the corners and that. I don't think the corners you got to really worry about. I mean, who the hell cares about Bradbury? He didn't do anything anyways.
He didn't play.
Darius Slay is damn good still. Don't get me wrong. But, like, Kelee Ringo, He's there. He showed talent.
Yes.
Okay, we know Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell are there.
They're awesome.
And I have a hard time thinking that they can't get one of those guys back that we just had on the list there with Avonte Maddox or Isaiah Rodgers for a pretty good deal. I think Rodgers is a great third and fourth corner. I mean, he can fly. He adds special teams value. Avonte Maddox is similar to that. I think just Rodgers is more in the prime of his career. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think there has to be a lot to address that right there. Overall,
they could draft that too.
They could draft that too.
They have their picks.
Exactly.
32, 64, 96, 129.
Yes. And who drafts better than them?
They'll get a third-round corner that's 6'1" and runs a 4.4.
Yeah, we're going to how did he last to that? And, of course, the Eagles are going to get it. Yep. Now, the other ones, you brought up like Mekhi Becton. Damn good year, definitely, right? But the Eagles, again, are incredible at drafting. That's the one thing we know about them. Okay, they got a lot of talent on that O-line to begin with. Yeah. The contracts themselves, they've gotten out in front of almost all of them, right? Landon Dickerson, they got it done last year. They got in front of Mailata. They got in front of Lane Johnson. All of them are top at their position. All right, but also, like, if they don't re-sign Becton, okay, they got Tyler Steen.
Right.
Who's damn good and would have started probably last year if Becton didn't just fall into their lap that way. So, again, here's another one where I just go, yeah, I'm not totally worried about that. The defensive end one is the one that's interesting, right? Like, where do they go? Like, I don't think they can keep Milton Williams. Not if you're going to pay Jordan Davis, and then, of course, you're going to have to pay
Jalen Carter.
The man all the money that you could possibly come with it. Right,
yes.
Right. He's not getting any home down discount, let alone I think he's arguably the best defensive player in football, him and Micah Parsons, right? You got Nolan Smith who's showing he's definitely worthy of a second contract and talent, but that's probably 2 years away. Right, but the big thing is with Sweat, how much money does he ask for?
I don't think you bring him back.
I don't think either. They still have Bryce Huff on the roster.
You need more out of Bryce Huff,
right?
And you need a year to not breakout, but just contribution from Jalen Hurts.
That's exactly
which,
right.
guess what? It'll happen.
It looks like it's going to happen.
Freak show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to happen. Exactly.
So why would
right.
you pay older Josh Sweat?
And are we definitely sure Brandon Graham's gone yet? Like, I mean, Brandon Graham, I know he said it might be his last year, but like, would I be shocked if he's like, hey, I'll come back for $7 million and play another year?
Right.
I'd be like, okay, there's another guy to add depth to. So I think long story short is the Eagles are fine, okay? They're fine. They got plenty of options. They got the best roster in football. But I am interested to see what they do with if they try to even keep Milton or Josh Sweat.
Yeah, or Zack Baun.
Or Zack Baun. Same type of thing.
That was a unique element to their defense that they usually didn't have. That's why I'm like, yeah, he might be back.
He might be back. And because it's only 1 year, right? It might not be a huge number to where they can maybe figure this out, right? Like T.J. Edwards, right? It's T.J. Edwards who went to Chicago.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
It wasn't huge, right? I remember we were doing the show live when it happened, and I put out a number that was like way bigger than he got because I thought he might get bigger. But you know, Zack Baun, perfect situation. They believed in him. They brought him in there. It might not take as much money as people think to get him back. But, of course, they do have Nakobe Dean, right? I know Oren Burks is a free agent, but they might be able to sign him back to a low. And then, of course, you know, them with drafting again gets into the conversation. So exactly right.
That kind of answers it from half postmodern here. Said the Eagles' offensive and defensive line were both dominant. Are they getting broken up, or are they going to roll the league again next season? I think we kind of covered a lot of that.
Yes.
I even like Trevor Keegan on their roster. They took him in the 5th round last year. He's the other guard. I mean, Steen's better and more ready right now, but I thought Keegan was a good prospect.
I hear you.
I wouldn't, unless it's a 1-year deal, I'm not bringing back Mekhi Becton.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's what's hard about, like we were talking about this before the show, that's what's hard about O-line when you got a team or a coach who's got an O-line, like, good eye.
Right, and practice every day.
We were talking about the Chiefs a little bit, which we're going to hit on in a second here. But they are one of those teams too. They got a coach and a staff there that knows how to pick them. They know what it looks like. And that's the hardest thing, I think, in my job right now, in our job, is because you don't know how they feel about the middle round guys that are coming up the ranks, right? And so many times where I'm like, they can't let offensive lineman, they can't let that guy go. You know, I don't see anybody there. And then I'll talk to the team like a few weeks later and they're like, hey, we love the guy we drafted last year in the 4th round. We think he's better than the guy we let go. And then you're like, oh, okay. So that's why you let him go. And that's one of the hardest things in my job.
This one from Tanner_Morris51. Could the Cardinals try to reunite Jonathan Gannon with some of his former Eagles? Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and Hassan Reddick were all super productive under JG, and any of them could seriously help Arizona's underwhelming pass rush.
Exactly
group.
right. That's the number one thing we've talked about with Arizona, right? Is lack of blue chip players, especially on their front seven.
Yep.
Right. I asked Johnny on the sidewalk right now who plays defense for the Arizona Cardinals. Johnny is going to be like Buda Baker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, he's actually a free agent right now, right? Yeah. I believe he is, right?
I think they got his deal done.
They got him done.
Roy Lopez is a free agent, who's one of their only defensive linemen.
Right.
But
they don't got a lot is our point there.
No,
and I could certainly, we know the NFL, it is about trust and knowing who you're getting and what you're getting. If Jonathan Gannon wants to build this vision and keep his culture, yeah, I could see certainly one of those guys going there. Milton Williams probably especially the one I look at more than anybody.
That's the name that jumps out to me.
Because he addresses two positions in one, really.
Right, and then you look at Reddick and Sweat, like Ojulari was hurt all last year. Can he come back and help you?
Yes,
they had, they
traded for him from the Giants.
Darius Robinson, that they had who was hurt this year.
He was hurt, so you hope he can turn it, which I'm excited for.
Yeah, two
potential guys.
The potential guys. They're both taken in the top 2 rounds, so maybe they're hoping on them. All right, the Chiefs franchise tagged Trey Smith. They're reportedly trading Joe Thuney to the Bears. So the Bears have now made 2 monster trades for interior offensive line help.
Hey, they're going to make
Jonah Jackson from the Rams,
right?
Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. That's some really big moves. We'll touch on those moves here in a moment. But John Ardell asked, if you're Brett Veach, do you focus on protecting your $500 million investment by creating the Great Wall of GEHA? Yeehaw. Mahomes needs time, not more weapons. 2 extra seconds for Mahomes. Time equals every receiver becomes exponentially more dangerous. Agree or disagree? We year for Sasquatch wisdom.
So my Sasquatch wisdom would say I agree with a lot of what John Ardell said there. Number one is protect Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has shown that with a cast less than or maybe not superstar, as long as he's protected, he can dice you up.
Yeah.
That's what he's proven. Right? Not saying he's perfect all the time, but more times than not, 9 out of 10 games we've seen when he's protected, he's hard to beat. I still think I'd like them to add one more receiver to the mix, and maybe not, actually. With Xavier Worthy, the way he finished, and I always forget Rashee Rice, so he's out of my mind, out of sight, out of mind, right? But yeah.
That's a tricky one. It's serious injury and maybe suspended this year. We don't know.
You don't know where that's going to go.
You need one more receiver. I just don't know the tier of that
my original
player.
thought was right. Exactly. Yeah. They need one more there. I am surprised that they traded Joe Thuney.
I am too. He's still really good.
He's one of the better interior.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of the best interior offensive linemen as far as pass protecting goes at the guard position. He's out of position last year. But again, I think this is the Chiefs going aggressive. The Chiefs going, what we have as a complete roster is not good enough right now. It's them going, wait, we're paying a lot of money to Trey Smith on this franchise tag here, and I would think they're going to pay him a lot of money in some sort of long-term deal if they can hopefully get that done. And then as we mentioned again, too, I just go, wait, are there other people here on their roster that they think that can fill these spots or whatever else? But I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised. Good for the Bears. Good for Caleb Williams. That's for sure. He's got 2 guys in front of him now that he's going to feel real comfortable in the pocket. But when I see Joe Thuney get traded, I just go, wait, this is more than just like Trey Smith's franchise tag and all that. It makes me think they're planning something aggressive or different, or really going to make a big move, and I just don't know what that'll be, but that to me was pretty shocking when we saw that news a little while ago.
You think they're going to move Sue Mattia to guard?
Maybe they do that, right? Maybe they looked at it and said,
to me.
Well, that was a thought that we had. In my evaluation, he was a guard, right?
Yeah.
When they said he was going to move the tackle last year, early in the year, I just went, well, damn, Andy knows O-lineman, so he must be good enough to play tackle. Well, Andy was wrong for the first time in his life in O-line, and an offensive lineman. He wasn't good enough, and I think that's probably where it goes. Because I know during the process last year, I thought Sue Mattia was a guard all along. And I would bet you that's what's going on. He's going to go there, and then I don't know if it's draft or free agent, or if they feel like there's a spot for our guy that they traded for, DJ Humphries.
Oh, yeah.
Where he could maybe actually be this
like
least healthy and go.
Him with a first-round tackle pick.
Exactly, something like that.
That could make sense.
I don't know, but I'm. This is again, all my ears are perked up on what Kansas City's going to do here.
By the way, the compensation for the Joe Thuney trade was just a 4th rounder in 2026.
Wow.
So they just wanted
They wanted the money.
Cap space
See,
off the
again,
books.
this is what tells me they're thinking something else. And this is where I love the Chiefs, because the Chiefs, they're like, great, we got to the Super Bowl. We didn't get there for the participation trophy.
Right.
They got on the field and they were like, we've got to make some drastic moves. The team we played against was in another class of us.
Yeah.
As we said leading up to the game in the Super Bowl, we put the 22 best players on the field on each side. 17 or 18 of them are going to be Eagles, right? That's hard to win the Super Bowl. I don't give a shit who your quarterback is when it's like that. And I think they've probably looked at it that way going, we got to update some things on our roster if we want to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl or the Ravens, who probably have been better than them the last 2 years. They just found a way to beat them, and then, of course, the Ravens shot themselves in the foot this last year.
Right, and the Bills are only going to get better.
I would think so.
I mean, they have assets. They'll
exactly
make moves
right.
as well.
Exactly
the
right.
Chiefs free agents, by the way, are Justin Reed, Nick Bolton, Tershawn Wharton. So 3 big pieces on their defense
Definitely.
at all 3 levels.
100%.
Wharton gets no love.
I know. Wharton's a lot. He's kind of like a poor man's Milton Williams.
Right.
You
He
know?
can get after the quarterback.
He can get after the quarterback
rush.
from the interior. Yep. You can play him really at strong side D end.
Right.
He's that athletic enough, let alone he's a disruptor in the middle. Right. So, yeah, I would think he gets some play there. Nick Bolton's going to be the one I'm interested in, too.
Yep.
Just because, hey, it's a Spags defense. They do a lot. They need a guy in there that can quarterback everything and do that. And I think Nick Bolton in the hierarchy of middle linebackers is a little bit underrated in my opinion.
Charles Omenihu, Justin Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kareem Hunt as well. So interesting free agent group for the Chiefs. Our last topic here, Chris. The people want to know which teams will splurge in free agency. Here's the teams with the most cap space.
Yep.
Of course, this is not factoring in, I believe, the draft classes, but still, this is the teams that have the most money. The Patriots can buy an entire NFL roster. There's just not enough players out there to actually use it on. The Raiders are the closest one, but the gap is legitimately $32 million. That's how much money the Patriots have. Cardinals have a lot of money with $78 million. The Bears with $67.4. The Chargers and Commanders right behind them with $65.3 and $64.2. The Vikings with $62.9. The Steelers with $59.7. And then after that, the Jets and the Rams have about $51.8 million.
It's the first year in a long time where I look at the top 5 or 6 teams and I go, they're going to spend. I just say that.
What is there to spend on?
I know. I don't know what it'll be either. But I do believe there are teams that are looking to change, or they're trying to be aggressive to change the trajectory of their football team, right? And that's where, the Patriots with their money, I mean, first off, Vrabel's going to look at it and go, the cupboard's dry. We need some more players here. I want my first year to come out like smoking hot here. What we can do? And I don't know. Again, that's where the Patriots, I think they're going to do their best to be aggressive here. One, because I think Vrabel will push them to do it. And then I wouldn't be shocked if they made a big trade for somebody big time
to
spend some of that money. I know.
They wanted Ayuk, right?
Right. Ayuk, right? I mean, we saw Mike Vrabel make a little comment on social media about A.J. Brown, but I just think that tells you where their head is. They want a difference maker. They're going to be willing to spend for somebody big out there. And you're right. It might not be a free agent. They might have to trade and then pay the guy or extend the contract. But the other team that jumps onto me here is the Cardinals. It's time.
It's
time. Year 3. They got all these picks and all this money. It's time to start cashing them in, or you're going to be fired and you can go home and just leave them for the next regime, right? So and I've liked what they've done. They have built the meat and potatoes of their football team. They've acquired assets. They got a lot of money, and they got a lot of picks in the draft again. So they can do that and really flip their team around this year. And it's year 3 of Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford, who I respect and I think are really both good at their jobs. You got the quarterback. I know, he's not top 5 quarterback, but Kyler Murray's still good. Right. He can take you to the playoffs. He can win playoff games. I don't have any doubt of that. Those are the two to me that I think are going to be very aggressive. One, because it's a first-year head coach and he's going to want to make it look good. The other one where it's just like, hey, it's time. We got all our ducks in a row finally here. We're ready to jump on the scene and make a splash.
Yeah, the Cardinals punched above their weight last year. I think they were projected 5.5 win team. They won 8. So you're right, Chris. It's go time. As for the Patriots, we have a question from Pats fan 0910. Patriots have a lot of cap space, but who is worth spending on? I think there are guys, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, but who's the best fit for a Vrabel D/McDaniels? I'll tell you, Chris, who I bet they're praying makes it to the market, and I don't know if he will.
Right.
I bet Chris Godwin is a guy that they're like. But the Bucs always get their business done.
They usually do. They're another team that gets out in front of things more times than not. Godwin would be a good fit there. Josh McDaniels would love Godwin. Yeah. I'm sure you heard a million good stories about him from Tom Brady, who gushes about him all the time to everybody. And Godwin is that guy that's kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? When he's healthy, he can win outside, but he's damn good in the middle.
Right.
And being a big slot who can read coverage and get open against linebackers and safeties and sit in the right spot and break tackles over the middle and play that type of football. So, yeah, I could see that. They would be another team. I know we said the Cardinals with Milton Williams or Josh Sweat. They would be another team that I think could be involved in that too, right? Josh Sweat could make sense there, even though
pass rush.
It's a pass rush, right? Now they might ask him to stand up and play a little 3-4 outside linebacker according to certain defenses they play and do all of that. But yeah, I would think they're going to be in the mix, especially for Milton Williams. I think that's the one I would look at, and because those are New England-y type of guys. Oh, he can play 3 technique. He can play shade nose on certain situations. We can play him at 4-3 strong side defensive end when we're playing the Ravens, who are really big. And if we want to get big and get 2 bigger D tackles in, he could be a big D end on that side. Right? He's got all of that. So that's where I could see both of those teams, and Austin Fort and Vrabel, New England connections there and all that. I could certainly see them liking him. Sweat, awesome. I will say, I think Sweat's weird knee is going to scare some people about just throwing him out big money. I mean, that's been I know he hasn't injured it anything, but it's been an issue since he came out in the draft. You can see it. It never looks like he runs totally normal, right? And it would worry me just as a guy that watches the sport of like, oh, I hope he can keep going there for a few more years on that thing, because it does worry me.
I wonder if they'd call about Harold Landry from the Titans, whose name has been thrown out there all the time.
No doubt about it. And they gave him permission to request a trade.
Right. He's 28.
I do think he's still got some play in him. No doubt about it.
9 sacks last year.
That could be a guy, too. 100%. That would make sense, again, I think, for either one of those teams. But, yeah, he's another perfect Vrabel guy. Right, it's not all about rushing the quarterback. He can set the edge. He stops the run. He's a complete football player, let alone he can get after the quarterback too.
I had heard early in the draft process for them, they were really into the idea of improving their pass rush in the draft, and then that stopped. I wonder if they didn't realize Abdul Carter was going in the first 2 picks, and now maybe it's like, okay, we probably got to pivot to the pro market, and we'll take a different position at 4.
It could be that. We'll see some of these other edge guys. Are they going to be a trade down team? We're going to
talk about a lot of those players.
We'll talk about that'll be interesting too. I feel like the number one thing they need to do though is get a stud receiver.
I mean,
that's the biggest thing. Exactly right.
Yeah,
you
like
got
an
your
alpha
guy.
number 1.
He showed enough to go, damn, it was damn good. What could it be if we have a real dude on the outside who commands attention and can make some plays? And I got to think that's where their head's at.
Our last question, more Patriots. Matthew Takas said, which free agent wide receiver or possible trade target at that position do you all think makes the most sense for my Patriots? For me, I'd optimally lean towards Devontae Adams to help our younger wide receivers to be their best in McDaniel's offense.
Adams has value. To me, Adams, it's all going to come down to what he wants money-wise. Right. And not only money-wise, but with Adams, does he want to go over to a team like this right now in this point of his career, where it's like, yeah, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl this year.
Is that relationship good, you think?
I genuinely don't know. I don't know totally there either. I do think it'll tell us something if they're interested at all, or if they're not, right? Adams does have a up and down reputation throughout the NFL. I think you probably have heard that before too.
Yes.
So that is part of it. I don't know if there's that free agent guy that I look out there right now, other than maybe C.J. Godwin, who again is getting up there in age and has had a few injuries here.
Yeah, he's been banged up.
Right? Does Stephon Diggs get in the equation as another guy? Again, I don't think it's big money here.
Right,
we're not,
ACL.
But coming off the ACL, they always liked him up in New England. Always. even when he was at Maryland. And that's why Nick Caserio signed him down there in Houston.
Right.
He's a route runner. He could be the slot Julian Edelman guy, especially at this point of his career. What the hell was our question, though?
For Devontae and the Patriots.
So, yeah, I don't see that one happening.
No,
I don't think I see it.
If he's not going to go play with Rodgers, wouldn't he just go to the best contender that offers him?
Exactly right.
I mean,
exactly.
We talk about the Chiefs all the time, but it's not just the Chiefs. Like, there's a lot of different teams where it's like, that makes sense.
I mean, the Rams, the Chargers.
Like, if you had him and Khalil Shakir.
Sure.
I know they drafted Keon Coleman, but Amari Cooper trade didn't work out.
No.
Matt Collins is a free agent.
Exactly right. I mean, there's going to be a team that wants him. It's just as long as he doesn't price himself out of the market. If he starts asking for $27, $28 million a year,
forget it.
Man, he's not going to have a lot of options.
Right.
If he gets down closer to 18, 20, I don't know.
Anywhere he wants.
Maybe teams like the Rams and the Chargers who maybe want to go young at receiver, they might go, we'll take that for a year or two with you. You still can go, right?
Man, the Chargers would be
I know.
electric.
I don't think you want to bring Devontae Adams in again to be your number one guy.
Right.
To me, it's like what you want. And I know it was a little weird, but you wanted where it's like, hey, it's Garrett Wilson and then Devontae.
It did work. He got good matchups.
He got great matchups. So, to the point where it started pissing off Garrett Wilson a little bit.
One-on-one with a safety.
Right.
What is this?
Exactly. And Garrett Wilson's like, wait, went over here. That's 7 balls in a row. That went to Devontae. I want the ball. But, yeah, Devontae one will be interesting as we go forward. McDaniels does need that type of guy. Right? McDaniels, his offense, this is one of the offenses in football that they have to have their slot option guy that they can feel comfortable with. And Devontae Adams would be able to do a whole lot of that stuff. But yeah, is there going to be somebody else out there, or do they go to the draft that way? But I would think that the Patriots add more than one wide receiver this offseason in free agency and the draft combined.
To put a bow on our Bengals combo from before, breaking news, Sam Hubbard is retiring.
Wow.
29 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So that's one solution for the Bengals.
So there we go. There's a less
hits.
of impressive top team cap hits right there.
I wonder if, maybe Body was just breaking down a little early. I didn't think he was the same guy necessarily.
Definitely didn't pop this year.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
So,
I always, when I hear that, I think what you think. And I don't know. I'm not trying to judge. But my head in football goes to the head.
Right.
That's what it does.
Right. As it should.
Like where I go, oh, yeah, maybe he's beat up. Maybe he was starting to notice some things with his head, which happens every now and then.
Scary.
And they start to go, wait, I forgot my keys for like the 3rd day in a row, and I have no idea. And those are the things that start to lead guys to go, wait, am I doing the right thing here? Right. And I hope that's not the case. Shocking news here. Second shocking story of the day breaking right here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned.
Yeah, a lot going on around the NFL. We're going to take our last break. When we're back, we're going to preview we're going to continue to preview more free agent names for next week in our last segment.
Sounds good.
Right after this. There they are, Damian Lewis and Paul Bettany. I'm telling you, it's just the face shape for Damian Lewis. Paul Bettany, I don't understand.
I know. I feel like
you should be.
I feel like with my blonde hair,
maybe that's it.
Right when Paul Bettany looked like Silas on that, like people just couldn't think of anybody with blonde hair, and they were like, "You look like him," and I'm like, "He looked like a freak on that show." Thank you very much. I mean, but I don't know. Let's see.
Man. Yeah, as Pete said, good-looking guy, but it's terrifying character.
Very terrifying.
Maybe they should just say the actors.
All right. So we gotta figure it out. I don't know if there's any other doppelgangers out there for me. If anybody does, please send them in. We love it. I love to make fun of myself. I'd love to make fun of Connor more too. So feel free.
All right, let's close this out with the off-season burning questions. Number 7. It's amazing we haven't even brought this guy's name up. Where does Myles Garrett end up?
I know.
I mean, you think this is the biggest story of the NFL offseason, and we never talk about it.
Well, because I think there's been no budge. There's no league buzz. I've asked guys that I'm close with in the NFL, and it's like I think right now they kind of feel like we haven't heard about conversations going on with Cleveland with it.
I don't think
it sounds like he's going to stay there, right? That would be, I think, the thought if you ask most coaches, personnel people. Now, I don't know if they're playing. I wouldn't be shocked if they're playing hard bargain football here right now. Look, no way are we trading him. We're not doing that. And then where I think Florio is right, and he said this, I think it's going to get to a point where it's like, we're not going to talk to you unless you're at least willing to start right here. Right? Like,
fair. It's Myles Garrett.
Don't even look, kind of like what Houston did with Deshaun Watson. That's what they did, right? And I agree with him there with that conversation. If I am Cleveland, though, with where they've been in their career, I mean, where it's what? He's going into year 9, right?
I believe
it's
so.
9?
Yeah.
Right?
I'll pull that up.
Yes, it's coming towards the end, and your team is definitely in a transition point. There's nothing to look at in Cleveland right now and go, it's just around the corner. They're good. They're going to be good again next year or the year after, right? No, it's not. To me, he's the biggest piece they have. He's the biggest prize they have. If they want to start the rebuild and get it going the right way, I would definitely be thinking about trading Myles Garrett and moving on to the next phase of the Cleveland Browns organizational life there.
This will be year 9 for him.
Yep.
It'll be his age 29 season. He'll turn 30 at the end of December. So it's now or never. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I agree with you, Chris, that do they think they're going to be a contender in his shelf life? I think if you just have an honest assessment, it's like probably not.
I mean,
probably
running
not.
back questions, quarterback questions.
Right.
Offensive line that's getting up there in age all of a sudden, and Joe Bitonio's talking about he might retire.
That line dropped off a cliff last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Receivers, I mean, Jerry Jeudy, yeah, okay.
Right.
But, like, you get into the defense, too. There's no big-time D tackle. There's no other pass rusher opposite Myles Garrett.
No.
They got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I love him.
Right.
You know, they got some good corners. Denzel Ward, though, he's also getting up there in years, too. I mean, what are we doing? Quietly going into year 7 for him or something like that?
I know, it's crazy.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, the shelf life of this football team, as we've known it the last few years, is about over. And Myles Garrett would be the best way to trade and restart the new life of the football team. So, you know, I want to be like, why? Why would you want to keep him? Well, why don't you want to go to the future and move on from him? But right now, they're holding steady.
If I can give a team from each conference that I think should want him the most, Commanders in the NFC.
Number 1 team.
Not easy. Like, no-brainer. They know
they got the money. They need that guy.
Yeah, they got chicken salad at a chicken you-know-what with their edge group last year. It was actually amazing to watch.
And they're a team that really believes and puts a lot of stock into that. Dan Quinn, Seattle, all those coaches, they're 49ers, think of the pass rushers. Yeah, they want pass rushers.
And then the Bills. But, like, I don't know why the Browns would do it. They'd have to get a massive price.
Yeah.
But the Bills need to get over the hump. And how can you improve your roster, by the widest margin?
Right.
It's a game wrecker on the defensive line.
They definitely missed that.
Von Miller's not the same guy.
Definitely not. The highest paid player on their defensive player is nowhere to be found in big moments and big games. That's not usually a good thing.
It would be the Bills and the Commanders because two teams trying to get over the hump.
Agreed. I like that one too. The other one I've thought about, and maybe with some of the recent activity it's not going to happen, is the Bears. The Bears are one team that I looked at when I could see them getting involved in this, right? Have him opposite of Montez Sweat, but now, hey, 2 offensive linemen that they're going to have to pay a pretty little price tag to.
$50 million right there.
Exactly right. That might change that thought or that plan altogether.
All right, our next one. Who is this year's Saquon Barkley, a.k.a. the missing piece for a contender? And the first question is from Nate_Hillman3. Feels like there hasn't been an interesting free agency in at least 7 to 8 years as the NFL made it too hard for elite players to hit the open market.
That's it.
New players on new teams generate so much interest. I mean, I think there's definitely been wild off seasons, but Nate's specific point is about free agency. It's
goes to what we just said a minute ago.
Yeah, it's not like baseball, hockey, and the NBA.
Good players don't get the free agency.
That's how the collective bargaining is set up.
Right.
Like, oh, we have a good player, and he's going to hit the market. Franchise tag.
That's why I don't love the franchise tag there. I mean, again, it's the only profession in the world where they're like, wait, you're the best at what you do? You have to wait 4 years to get it, and then we'll just see. We got a few other things where we're going to make you suck it up and roll the dice for a year or two in the most physical sport in the world. Right. And then we'll see if we pay you the top of the market. Like, that works nowhere. Doctor, lawyer, whatever. Like, oh, you're the best surgeon in the world. We don't want to pay you like that yet. We're going to give you something that's kind of good, but not really your worth, before you can really make a real contract. Like, what the fuck? That goes on nowhere. I hate that. And I don't like the new formula for the franchise tag either. Right? The franchise tag used to be top 5, average of the top 5 players at your position. They took away the top one, they took away the 5th one, and it was really the average of 2, 3, and 4, right? That's what it was. That's what it was forever. Now they found a new formula in how they do it, and it makes it even easier for teams to franchise, which I don't love. Now, good thing that wasn't an issue this year, but if you took that old formula with T. Higgins and all that, the franchise tag would be north of $30 million if you did that. And so for a year with a guy like him, they just go, wait, $26 million? Fuck, we'll take that for sure.
Right.
I mean, sold. We got it.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah, I don't like any of that and how it's set up for the NFL football player. Now, back to, is there a guy, right? That was the base question. That changes a contender, right? I mean, I look at it. It is underwhelming, the overall free agency group. Like we talked about, most of the good players don't ever get there because of some of the things we hit on. There is a good group of pass rushers, right? Some defensive linemen, Sweat, Reddick, Khalil Mack, Odeying Bingo, I might have said that right, from the Colts, who's a disruptor, right? DeMarcus Lawrence, I think he's got a little gas in his tank still. Okay, so I look at that. Baron Browning, who's got physical ability off the edge. I'm just throwing out names, and then we get into Milton Williams. Does Javon Hargrave have one more good year in him, right? There's that. So there's some players there. Secondary, there's some players, but I don't know if I look at it to go, there's a Saquon Barkley out there right now where you just go, that'll change the team. I mean,
agree.
That was rare, a really rare thing because of the running back market, because of the state of the Giants and where they were at as a football team, okay? And then to have the Eagles get involved, I mean, that just was the perfect team. I mean, I picked him to be Offensive Player of the Year, like, I don't know, right away, because it was that obvious. Like, oh, shit, he's going to be in that team with that O-line? That's a special thing there. So, I don't know. Do you have a name that you think is worthy?
I finally found mine, and it was a tiring exercise because this list is bad. Ronnie Stanley to the Chiefs.
Okay. That's a good one.
That's the best one I can come up with.
He might be the most marquee guy on the market. You might be right. That might be it.
A lot of risk with his health pass,
yes,
but Ronnie
that's going to be the issue.
Stanley to the Chiefs is the best I can do.
Okay, I like that. That is a game changer. Way to go. You came through in the clutch right there.
Digging through this crop because almost everybody that's good has signed.
I know.
Or been tagged.
I mean, I secondary guys, okay, just to hit on that real quick, I do think it's a pretty damn good group.
There's corners out there.
There's corners for
and
sure.
Safeties.
There are. So there's some guys there, you know, that can help you out. Charvarius Ward still got gas in the tank.
Right.
So does Carlton Davis. So I look at that. DJ Reed and Byron Murphy and Asante Samuel are still good players. Paulson Adebo, right, from the New Orleans Saints. He got hurt last year. They traded away Marshawn Lattimore because Paulson Adebo is their lockdown man-to-man guy.
Right.
Now, he's coming off a bad injury, so I don't know where that's going to happen. We'll see where that goes. But I do think he could be a guy that can be a difference maker for a team right away. And the other guy I'm going to throw out there that I really do like is Javon Holland. It was a down year last year. I get it. It wasn't as good. The years before that, I would have put Javon Holland in one of the top safeties in football conversation. So I guess I chickened out of that answer altogether. I threw out some names that I think are definite difference makers. And now as I hear you talk and what you said there, I think I'm actually in agreement with you as I'm sitting here going through the list real quick. I think you might be right. That would be an awesome one.
That's like and you look at all the money they're clearing off the books right now. You kind of sit there and
go like, damn, maybe
are trying to swipe it?
Are they thinking that?
Yes.
Are they thinking that? Maybe you're onto something.
That would be
okay. I'll take that. We'll let Connor Rogers have the last say on that one. I like your answer right there.
Yeah, I'll roll with that. Our next one here is who is this year's Zack Baun, aka the free agency bargain? And David Esquivel asked, do you see the Chargers going after a top-tier wide receiver like Keenan Allen or Devontae Adams, or just continuing to build up the trenches like the year prior? You mentioned Devontae Adams for them earlier.
Yes, but I don't know if I feel like that's totally their type of move. I said that just because I know they need a receiver. They have money, right? And he wants to go to the West Coast. So those are my reasons for thinking of that. But I don't think that's their type of move. I don't expect that. Okay. Now, Keenan Allen, I don't see him going back there either. Keenan Allen's still got a little value, but it's going down. He's not as good as Devontae Adams, and he's clearly really in a perfect world what you want as a number 3 receiver right now, right? That's where, again, it's like Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, right? I think in perfect worlds, they're threes. They're really good threes, 2/3s, But you don't want them on the outside going, they're going to beat the best corners in football all the time. You want them inside, read coverages, we'll help you out. You're a good route runner. Let's do it that way. That's how I kind of look at it. But they definitely need a receiver, that's for sure. Now, like the receivers themselves, there's two that I look at, and just maybe along the lines of free agency bargain. I think Darius Slayton is a free agency bargain, right? There's not a lot of guys that come out all the time where I can just go, and I'm not saying he's a superstar.
No.
But he is rare, and he's different for the class in that you can line up Darius Slayton on the outside, and you go, you better be careful, because he will run by you for a 60 or 70-yard touchdown. He will catch a slant, and if you take the wrong angle, he will be gone for a touchdown, right? To me, he is kind of one of the undervalued playmakers out there. I'd certainly look at that. Not for the Chargers specifically. I think Joshua Palmer is going to be viewed higher by the league. I know he didn't have a great year this year. But yeah, he's big, and again, he can run by some people.
That's the key, yeah.
Right, and teams are going to look at that and go, well, I have that. We can work on some of the other stuff. So that jumps out to me. Another free agency, I think, Jawan Johnson, right? That would be another guy I would look for, a tight end needy type of football team. I like Jawan Johnson's game. He's certainly one that jumps out to me a little bit.
Like the Broncos?
Right? The Broncos.
Yeah.
So exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sean Payton, guy probably heard all the stories, got a little history with him. Exactly right. Now, the other guy that pops to me maybe as the free agent value, he actually plays the same position of Zack Baun. Nick Bolton, I love Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
But if you get Dre Greenlaw healthy, and he's not going to be able to command the money he probably deserves as he's healthy because of 2 year, the Achilles that happened in the Super Bowl. But if you get Dre Greenlaw and it's a 1 year deal because we want to see how you act for through your injury, and if you're 100%, I mean, Dre Greenlaw at his best is an all-pro middle linebacker.
Right.
I mean, he's all pro. So that would be the name that I think jumps out to me as far as being that one, could be the Zack Baun of next year.
Yeah, that's a great call. Yeah. He'll turn 28 before camp, so he's still young enough.
Exactly.
Hopefully
get him
he's
healthy. Recovered. Right.
That's you can do that's a good value buy.
I would think so.
The guaranteed money won't probably go into the second year.
It won't be huge because everyone's going to want to see him be healthy for 1 full year before they really commit. And yeah, I can't see him getting huge money, but I could see him having a bounce back year and us going, well, damn, he's one of the best linebackers in football for Team X who needed that position really badly.
Our last one here, how will teams approach the running back position? This free agent market is just okay. Aaron Jones at the top, Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, Nick Chubb. While the free agency class is just okay, Chris, and I know you're going to catch up on all these guys, the running back draft class is sick.
I know that. I know that enough from watching college football. Because I came on the Big Ten show almost every week and was like, this team's got great running backs. Or I was in our meeting for the Big Ten pregame show going, it's another team where they got both guys are starters.
Ohio State.
It's incredible. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I watched a whole bunch of college football this year, and I was like, damn, I can't believe this guy's another stud here. Yeah, the free agency class is nothing special. I don't think there's one starter in the free agency class.
That's the problem, is they all got to be in
certain situations, right? I mean, I don't want Aaron Jones as a starter anymore. You want him as a situational running back. Third down, screens, spell the guy, do that. He can't take the wear and tear of 20 carries a game between the tackles. That's not going to happen anymore. Najee Harris, I know, is the other big name out there. But I don't want Najee Harris as my starter either. I mean, damn, they don't want him in Pittsburgh as their starter. Right. Doesn't that say it all?
Right.
I mean, come on. That was a bad first-round draft pick. And again, another reason where I go, I'll stick up for Mike Tomlin because some of these picks haven't been all that good there, and he ain't picking them, all right? So, yeah, I don't love that. J.K. Dobbins, the knee scares me still. I'm not going all in on that, right?
Same with Javonte.
Right. Same with
and Nick Chubb. Down the list. Injury.
Right? Raheem Mostert, maybe I'll bring him in again, just like an Aaron Jones. I want him as a third down. We toss sweep to him. We give him a reverse, whatever. Okay, sure. I think the running backs are going to be viewed big time, and they should be. First off, they all pass the look test. That's the one thing. They look real in the uniform, in person, right? All of that. And I mean, Ashton Genty, top 15 pick for me. I mean, again, if Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs are top 15, then so is Ashton Genty for my money.
In this draft?
Right.
Easily.
Now, I haven't studied Omario Hampton like you have, and I know you have.
No, he's
But he looks
good.
the part, and some of the highlights I've seen, I go, that sure the hell looks like a first-rounder, but I don't know about him yet. But, damn, the draft is robust with talent that can start at the running back position.
I have him as a top 15 player, Hampton.
He's a top 15,
yeah,
huh? That
13th.
high.
Yeah,
Wow, okay.
I just think it's partially this draft is lacking blue chip guys,
you're right.
and then partially that he's a freak.
Yeah.
Like, once again, sculpted out of stone.
It looks like Joe Mixon.
Crazy speed, physical.
Yeah.
That's a good call. Caleb Johnson from Iowa.
He's got freaky ability.
Both Ohio State running backs should go in the top 50.
I'm a big fan of Quinshon Judkins. I think his game will really translate to the NFL.
Me too.
Right.
He's another guy with legs that are just walking on oak trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's usually, he's got good speed. We know it's not like groundbreaking Travion Henderson stuff, but I think yes, his size and power are going to add to a lot of that should have been a 2-yard run, but that was a 7-yard run. And, there's a lot of value to that in the NFL, certainly. I'm interested by this Tootin guy at Virginia Tech. He's a Jersey guy. I had heard about him even in high school a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never really studied him either, but damn, looked the part and was freaky at the combine.
Great speed, obviously, which we saw at the combine, but it's real play speed. I thought at the Senior Bowl he just caught the ball so well. He ran really good routes.
Got it all.
So if you give that kind of guy in space, that's a really good weapon to have.
Right.
Man, it's just a loaded group. Like LaQuint Allen from Syracuse is another good pass catcher. The draft has everything.
Yeah, I'm excited to break it down. It's one of the first things that was thrown on my radar screen is that, the trenches are good in the draft and running backs are good in the draft, and it looks that way so far.
Yeah, it's a loaded group.
All right, that's it. We did it.
Whew, man.
All right, we're in free agency edition. Monday, I think we're going to come in live. We're coming in live. I think we might do IG live. Am I right with that, guys? I mean, we certainly were thinking about doing that. 1
legal
p.m.
tampering
Eastern.
kicks off.
And we're going to get,
nice.
we're going to do live reactions at 1 p.m. about what's going on in free agency. Hopefully by that time, usually we have a few signings right as the clock hits 12. And then hopefully you got a few more that filter into the show in the 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock hour that we can talk about. But you'll find me Monday. Ahmed Fareed will be here. We are going to get a show where it's going to be you, me, and Ahmed together.
Especially draft time.
And I want to put Ahmed in the middle so he's got to look back and forth all the time and just really be annoyed between both of us, all right?
That's perfect.
That's what we got to do. But as always, thanks for driving the ship.
Thank you.
Connor Rogers, Tom Pelissero, Doppelganger, thanks so much. I appreciate it. You are the man. And we're going to be picking your brain more and more as we go through this draft, okay, big guy? All right, you know where to find us. Monday, we'll be back at it. Pay attention to free agency. I'm going to continue down the draft wormhole. You know I'm knee-deep in it right now. I'm going to work my ass off all weekend. Send to the questions, subscribe, rate, review. Be good, everybody. Have a good weekend. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.